This podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The content shared is not a substitute for professional medical, mental health, legal, or financial advice. Please consult a qualified professional for personalized guidance or treatment. By listening, you acknowledge that the hosts and guests are not responsible for any decisions or actions you take based on this content.
Feel like a grouch, go beyond the couch. Share your confessions on the Aurora Sessions.
Hello, Aurora Healing Crew. Welcome to the Aurora Sessions Beyond the Couch, where we take the stressors that come up in session and bring them into conversation beyond the couch. This is the space where real talk meets real life. Hi, everyone. This is Teresa here, the founder of Aurora Sun Counseling, a group private practice providing psychotherapy for clients in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Today's guest is Brandon Duckworth, former Major League pitcher and current professional scout for the New York Yankees, but Phillies fans know him well. Brandon pitched for the Phillies during the 2000s, later playing for the Astros and Royals, and even taking his career overseas to Japan. Before the majors, he was International League Rookie of the Year and MVP, and after retiring, he stayed in the game through scouting. Today, we're going beyond the stats into the mental game, family, and what it really takes to build longevity in baseball. Welcome, Brandon.
Oh, it's great to be here.
So I always first of all, thank goodness your name is pretty easy because I usually try to clarify everybody's name in the beginning of my podcast. I've always said their names wrong, like Maria, her name is Ramos, not Ramos. So it's Ramos. And she corrected me while we were recording. But I then like to talk about how I know you. So I know your wife. We met through dance, as you know. And apparently our daughters found each other in dance and wanted to dance together. And Janine started to talk to me, trying to get a duo together. And I was like, yeah, we don't do that. we don't do that. I rejected her. And then I thought about it later and I was like, maybe we could work it out to be a Christmas present or something.
Right.
So from there, of course, I had to talk to Janine a lot. And then she was saying when we were talking about ages and how in Japan, people start kindergarten or first grade a year later than United
Right.
States. And I was like, you lived in Japan? And I said, why did you live in Japan? Of course, my hypersensitive, are you just telling me this because I'm Asian type thing?
Oh, Lord.
No. And then I said, what? He lived in Japan? And then she said, yeah. I said, why? And she says, for my husband's job. I was like, okay, maybe he's an engineer. People go overseas. And I said, what does he do? And she says, he played baseball. I was like, oh. And then like every good mom, I went home. I was like, Duckworths, Google, who are you? And so I was like, oh, thank goodness. I knew her as Janine, Aaliyah's mom, before Brandon's wife, who used to play for the Phillies.
Right.
So that's so slowly, Janine's, one of my closest friends and know you through our children. So thank you for coming.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Okay. So, with that being said, I like to start from the beginning. So becoming a professional and staying well while doing it. So when you were a kid, how did you see yourself? What brought you to baseball from the beginning?
Oh, it's kind of crazy. I had two older brothers. They were 8 and 9 years older than me. And they were always involved in baseball. My mom's side of the family, huge sports people. Uncles, they were all athletes, football, basketball, baseball. So that was kind of part of it. My father, he loved baseball, but never really played. So as my older brothers were playing, My father, he was actually the president of the Little League, but my mom was a coach.
Your mom was a coach?
Mom was a coach.
Okay.
She always wanted to. It was crazy. It would drive the men nuts. So, I was always at baseball. I was always at the practices. So I was introduced to it. Jeez.
Was she a non-parent coach? Or was she coaching your older brothers?
Well, she was a non-parent coach.
Oh.
She did both.
Oh, wow.
So, like when I got to, she loved the 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds. So, something that she just enjoyed it. And so she always had those teams, but I was always at the practices with my brothers. And, at an early age, it just came a little bit natural to me. And then, of course, I would drive her nuts in the wintertime because I was active. I think I was hyperactive, but we always put this big black, she painted a black square on the back wall. And she would just say, would you go out and just throw the ball at the wall, throw snowballs at it, whatever it may be. So that kind of got me going, but I just always enjoyed it. I always saw my brothers there. I spent summers always there. So I was always playing.
Right.
So I think that it was just kind of a natural thing.
So tell people who don't know, where did you grow up?
Okay. I grew up in a small town in Utah. The town's called Kearns, and right in the Salt Lake Valley. So not necessarily a baseball hotbed by any means, but, I grew up there, and, I stayed there. In going back, it's kind of weird. This all kind of comes around full circle. So I grew up there, but my mom and dad actually lived in Philadelphia.
Oh.
And my brothers were born at the old Naval Hospital.
Oh, wow.
So
they had roots here.
They had some roots here.
Interesting.
So that being said, they moved back to Utah. I was born there, and then they just love sports, and they love baseball especially. I think both my mom and my dad always wanted to play, but never had the opportunity for whatever reasons.
And the black box on a wall outside, is this like an outdoor garage wall?
No,
what are we talking about?
It was a cinder block wall.
Why do we have a cinder block wall in your backyard?
That was just the fence that was there.
Oh, the fence. Okay.
Yeah, so there was a cinder block wall that acted as a barrier.
Okay.
So it was a big cinder block wall on the backside. So that was her thing of, how can I get him out of the house?
Right.
Because I was just pent-up energy, as I'm sure we all know, with young kids.
3 boys?
Yes, all boys.
Right. Send them outside.
Yes. Yeah. Well, especially me. Because, my brothers were at school and whatnot, but she was heavily involved in school as well, PTA and stuff. But, that was kind of the foundation for everything.
Okay.
And it just got to the point where I was always at their practices or my mom's practices. So I was just joining in.
Right.
So at that young age, and then I was able to keep up. I was like 4 years old.
Wow.
And I was actually playing organized baseball because father was the president, and I could hang with them. So they're like, yeah, why not?
And we've seen 4-year-olds play baseball. Is it T-ball still at that age?
I never played T-ball.
Oh, you went what? Kid pitch?
It was always kid pitch. We never had T-ball.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
So
that's interesting.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, so we really are softening our children probably.
But you know what? I think there's a lot of different places that have always had T-ball and just kind of an introduction to the sport.
Right.
But I was never given that. And it was just kind of old school way. Here it is. I think our generation were kind of just like, here you go do it.
Right. Like swim, jump in the water.
Here you go, figure it out.
Exactly. Okay. So at what point did it go from Little League to how did you, I guess they always knew if they saw a 4-year-old pitching and batting, and I'm sure you were one of the stronger, probably beating out the 9-year-olds. At what point did it change into, how did that evolve to getting serious?
I think as a young kid, I had dreams galore. I wanted to be the first major leaguer, first kid or adult to ever play football, baseball, and basketball at the professional level, at the major league level.
Yeah. All of them. Because you can't do all 3 professionally.
Because we grew up watching like Bo Jackson, who is arguably the best athlete that I've ever seen. Right?
You're right.
So everybody wanted to do the whole Bo Knows commercials. I'm sure all the adults remember all of those. but it was a lot of fun. But, I just had dreams and aspirations and to be the best I could be. And I was just always out. My parents never said that I couldn't do something.
I love that. They let you dream.
They let me dream. They let me dream big. And, and if I wanted to do something, they didn't force me to do anything. I think that's the big part today is in watching some of the youth sports, I see parents living vicariously through their kids, and which I think can be really hard on the kids and expectations. And you just see it and you're just like, I was very fortunate that my parents just said, look, dream big. You want to do it and we'll make it work. And, thankfully for that, they allowed me to pursue it. And I moved on and, I always played multiple sports all the way up into high school. And then I was just kind of like, I don't want to play football. Basketball was okay, whatever. But baseball I found was my passion, but I would still do other things.
Okay. So that's really interesting. And we'll get into the parent mindset because, as a self-proclaimed tiger mom, there's a difference between dreaming, letting them dream, and being practical.
Right.
And I've had people say, your wife included, let them dream big, and but then the other side, and Janine's the same way, but they need to be able to be independent. And then other people say, let the world tell them that they can't do something. Let them get the support from the house. So it seems like your parents really supported your dreams.
They did, and it just so happened it was something that they enjoyed watching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
of course.
So they really, really loved that. I remember growing up, I was fascinated just with sports in general. I would sit down with my dad on Sundays in the morning. We'd go over the paper for the football games and say, okay, Dad, let's pick. You pick, I pick, type of a thing. And be competitive. I was just always competitive. But so I watched football a lot because there was a guy that my uncles went to school with by the name of Bruce Hardy. I think he was the very first high school kid on Sports Illustrated.
Oh, wow.
So he was a quarterback, ended up going to Arizona State, and then eventually played for the Miami Dolphins. So that was just kind of just
you had
other
examples.
Little things. There's examples and stuff in the background, but not necessarily did I wanted to be a football player, but then I played. I'm like, nah, this isn't for me.
Right.
But just having somebody, it doesn't have to be your sport to look up to and dream big like they did.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big thing is, hey, you might be better at one sport or an art or something that's something totally different. Like with our daughters in dance, maybe they like something else, or my son that plays sports, maybe he likes something else. It doesn't have to be the sport that I played. I just want them to be happy and make sure that they're doing it for them, not for me or for my wife.
And at what point, so how did you go from, did you get, and I'm so sorry. Like I said, I didn't know who Brandon was. I hardly know that the Phillies are a baseball team. But at what point did you get recruited?
I was always pretty good, and I was usually one of the top players in the area. But as you start to get older, then you start to play against kids from different towns and so on and so forth. And, right around the high school time, I continued to playing against some of the better players, but I came from an area that wasn't affluent by any means. So kind of like a lower income area. So my parents didn't have a ton of money, some of these other kids that were given everything and could afford to do everything. But, I had to prioritize, what is it that I wanted to do? Because money was a big hindrance because everything can get expensive, as we know. But as I continued to play, I continued to be one of the top players. Right. And that's when colleges kind of started to see, once you hit about 16, 17 in the baseball world, back then, that's when everything went. Because we didn't have travel ball. It was always Little League, then All-Stars, and then you went on and played another sport. It wasn't year-round all the time, nonstop. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. Because kids get burned out.
Yes.
But high school, that's when everything really started to go. And that's why I said, you know what? I'm better at baseball. I think I have an opportunity to do something just within myself.
Right.
Ultimately I was dreaming to make it to the major leagues, but hoping that I could at least get to college, be one of the first,
Right.
In my time. My brothers went to college, but I wanted to do the same thing because my parents didn't go to college. I think we find that a lot.
Right. Well, yeah. And then as parents, we want to our dream is that our children can have a better life, do better than us is always the goal. So, especially seeing, a son with such talent and probably getting attention, oh wow, let's see how far he could go. So in high school, did you get recruited to college?
Yeah. In high school, where I was from in Utah, nobody really came in because a lot of times growing up there, the Mormon religion is big, and then usually those kids go on to do
family things.
Yeah, I mean they go on missions for the church.
Yes.
So they'll leave for 2 years. So on the pro side of things, on the pro baseball side, they would shy away from that state just because they had been burned. Kids say, "Oh no, I'm not going," and then they take the money and they ran.
Oh,
they're like, "Okay, I quit." So
yeah.
So that would happen. But, collegiately, you go in. So I went to a junior college at first. We weren't heavily recruited there. And then after my first year, I went to a college. It's called College of Southern Idaho in Twin Falls, Idaho, which was always a top 20 team in junior college. So I went there, and I was the first two-way player. So I would pitch.
What's a two-way player?
So I would pitch as well as hit. So I played.
Oh, okay.
So I would do both sides.
I thought everybody did that. Okay.
So in Little League, we all did that.
Okay.
But I was fortunate enough to be good enough as well and to be given the opportunity to be a two-way player. So I did that. I was drafted my very first year of junior college.
Still processing this. So the pitcher that we see doesn't bat?
No.
Really?
Nope.
Oh my gosh. I am
We're learning today.
Oh my gosh. I really thought everybody bat. Oh my gosh.
We used to, but
are they in I guess they don't play outfield because they're busy pitching.
Yes.
So it's they're the offense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically I would pitch one game, and then when the games that I wasn't pitching, then I would move to first base and play first base and hit. I would still hit when I pitched, though.
Right.
That doesn't normally happen.
Okay.
But you're starting to see it a little bit more. It's making a comeback in collegiately, but professionally, nobody hits anymore. No pitchers.
Oh my
hit.
gosh. I guess everybody knew this. Everybody knew that pitchers don't bat too. Okay.
So needless to say, I went to junior college, and when I went there, you can still be drafted by a professional team.
Okay.
It's just when you go to a Division I, Division II, Division III, like a 4-year school, it's not allowed.
Okay.
So you have to be there 2 to 3 years, depending upon your age.
Okay.
So I was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays after my first year. Pitched, hit, and I almost signed, but then decided not to. I went and played summer ball in Kansas and in St. Joseph in the Kansas Jayhawk League. So I was in a town, St. Joseph, Missouri, so just north of Kansas City. Played there, and my manager there, his name was Ray Roman, who has since passed, but he was a catcher for the national champion Cal State Fullerton Titans team in 1984, if I remember right. So he was my coach, and I pitched there, and he made a call to Cal State Fullerton and told them about me. And then once that season was over, I went out to California and played a little bit more because they wanted to watch me. And they wanted me to come in then, but they had no scholarships.
Right.
They had no money, and I couldn't just leave out of state, take on all the debt especially when I had my junior college that was paying me, or my scholarship there.
Right.
So I had that, and I was just like, look, I don't have money. I would love to come here now, but I can't because of financially, and you guys already have that set. They're like, no, we understand. Plus, having said that, I said, look, I will definitely come here next year. Let's figure that out. And they're like, okay, not a problem. So I didn't end up signing with the Toronto Blue Jays that year because I was drafted.
I was just going to say, okay, because you were drafted. Okay.
I was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays. And then what they do is they try to negotiate. That's there's a lot of different things that go along with it. I was what they called a draft and follow. So as a younger guy, they held the rights to, they would watch, and they had my rights up until the next draft, like a week before the following year's draft. So they tried to sign me at the end of the summer.
Wow.
So I had that going on. I had Cal State Fullerton, but
that's a lot of pressure.
So there's a lot, and I'm
people watching you.
Yeah, I was 19 years old. I'm like, wow, these are really adult type of decisions I have to make.
Right.
So inevitably at the end, I decided to go back to college. And forego the draft, and they could sign me. And then I played one more year at junior college. Funny thing is, I ended up being an All-American as a hitter, not as a pitcher. So needless to say, that was another thing, but I was drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Still didn't sign.
As like a pitcher?
As a pitcher,
okay.
Yeah. So I was drafted by them, but I didn't sign. I ended up going and playing in a summer league, which I had committed to Cal State Fullerton, and I was going there. And I played in Alaska
oh my gosh,
for the Alaskan Baseball League, Summer Baseball League. So I got to play in the Midnight Sun game, all that. And it was a huge collegiate league. So I was like, okay, this is great. Pitched up there, did well, went to Cal State Fullerton, had a successful season, and then turned down the draft, but went and played summer ball in what they call Cape Cod League, which was the premier league of all the collegiate leagues. So I went there, was really good, and ended up signing with the Phillies out of there.
Oh, wow.
So a gentleman by the name of Dick Lawler saw me and came in. They wanted to sign me. I signed, and then that's when I started my pro career.
Right. Interesting. Wow. And so young.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you started at the Phillies?
21. I signed at when I was 21. My first professional year was 1998, so that's when I just turned 22 and I went into A-ball.
Okay.
Signed, went in, and then just kind of, I had to perform. I didn't get all the money that some of these kids would get.
Right.
You were hoping to get six figures when you signed back then.
Right.
Because then they'd keep you around a little while because they were financially invested in you.
Right. But you had to play well, and then you got the rest of the.
Yeah. So I had to pretty much I had to prove myself at every step of the way, every year, every game.
Right.
Be in the right place, the right time, and have, a lot of things go right as well as stay healthy.
So with staying healthy, we talk a lot about mental fitness. Part of our mission statement is the mental fitness part, because the way I describe it to clients is just like practice, or when you're rehearsing, you have to have that muscle memory. You can't just show up on game day or recital day and perform at your best. You have to do all the work outside first. Right. And you have to keep doing it because on game day, that's when you have the pressure, and it has to come, that's when it will come automatically. So with that, how did you deal? The first question is how did you deal with the comparison? I know we didn't have social media back then, so you
Thankfully.
So you didn't have all the stats and all the stuff at your disposal all the time. But just looking around, being so young, and also all the players, how did you deal with the comparison with other players as far as how fast, strong, and more advanced you or they were?
You have your limitations, obviously. I think I had very similar stuff to most people. Then there were some outliers, but I think the toughest thing was going in, performing each and every day, and knowing all those other people that are pitching as well. They're competing against you in order to move up. So you go from being, say, one of the best players in Little League. Now you're playing high school. Well, now you're one of the best players in high school, and then you move on to college. Now you're playing against the best players from throughout the country rather than just your state or city. And then once you go from there in college, playing against all the best in the country, now you move on to the pro ranks. Now those are all the best kids in the world. And then as you continue to move up and jump each level, it just gets more difficult. So mental strength is going to be a huge part of it. confidence, very easy to waver and lack confidence and then get down on yourself for a bad game. But you have to be able to compartmentalize, I guess you would call it, put it to the side, deal with it later, and continue to move on.
Be a goldfish. Like
there you go. Forget it, right?
Yes.
But I had the good fortune, to be honest with you. And when I went to Cal State Fullerton, one of my teachers, who, God rest his soul, was one of the foremost mental skills coaches in all of sports. His name was Ken Ravizza. So I was very fortunate not only to have him as a teacher, but also he would work with us at Cal State Fullerton, in which he also worked with U.S. Olympic teams, Major League Baseball teams, soccer, like all this stuff. So he was teaching us, in a lot of respects, how to push stuff to the side, forget about it, show our focus, find focal points to draw your attention back to the game at hand, and go on. And I continued to utilize people. After I left school, my neighbor, actually, Nicole Deitling, she was another mental skills coach that I used, and she works now with all the U.S. Olympic speed skaters.
Right. I feel like there's a new career for me here, mental skills. I tell you what,
I think it's very undervalued. Yeah. And all sports team have mental skills coaches, and because it's a lot of pressure, because you're thinking, you get to that level, wow, what if I fail? Or if I'm failing, oh man, this is the last, this is the end. I'm at the top, but I have to stay here for a certain amount of time because I put and dedicated my whole life to this. How am I going to stay and keep competing and staying, especially when all these younger kids, maybe they're more talented.
Exactly.
And you're just trying to stay at the top of your game.
And that pressure is getting younger and younger and younger.
Yes.
And even if like a 13-year-old don't understand adult pressure, like what you were going through, in their world, it's just as heavy too.
And maybe more so because they don't have the skills or the understanding how to push it to the side. Mm-hmm. So, there's going to be some kids that are able to just like, whatever, and just go do their thing, But then there's the ones that really take everything to heart. Oh, I'm a failure. My parents are not going to be happy because I'm not doing well. Like, there's so much pressure, and I just feel that it's been put on the kids at much earlier ages, on top of having all the social media on top of it. Oh, look what I did this week. Look what they did this week. And it's a comparing and contrasting one another. And
I should be doing more. They should be doing more.
Yes.
One of the things that I talk about too, with cognitive behavioral therapy is mother, father, teacher, preacher. They say that those are the 4 most influential people in our lives that shape how we see the world and how we see ourselves. So with that pressure on top of if they have parents who might be toxic, or a coach, or because I categorize coach with teachers too, because it's so heavy. You're performing for your coach. You get direct feedback on the field from your coach. So if we were to get one tip from your mental fitness coach, what do you think is the most important thing?
I think positivity. Baseball is a sport that's based a lot on failure. So I think the more positive you can be, it's very easy. You know how you messed up, you know how you did this, but I think even myself, I would always look at the negative. Why am I looking at the negative? So if there's one thing I could say is, instead of looking at the negative, let's look at the positive. Because if there's more positivity, I feel that the kids are going to want to continue to go, and you're teaching them those things like, hey, I made a mistake, but that happens. It's okay to make mistakes. You learn from your mistakes.
So as a parent, at what point are we allowed to tell them what mistakes they did?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good call. I think everybody knows where they made mistakes.
Okay.
I think there's different, like, physical mistakes versus mental mistakes. The physical mistakes are going to happen. the mental mistakes are the ones, if they keep going over and over, okay, we're not learning. That's when we start to say, okay, we keep doing the same thing.
Right.
But how do you do it? How do you address it? And you know what? I've been learning on my own too, like having kids, like, man, how can I do this better? I lean on Janine all the time. Like, she's like, maybe you want to soften it. Maybe you want to do this. Hey, maybe say that, because I think that's a big part in it. Because
wait, Janine's telling you to soften something?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Trust me. I think it comes from, I get so intense because of being
Right.
at those levels.
Yeah.
I don't realize.
Right.
And
Where's Easton? Easton, do you want to comment on how your dad gives you? Well, you want to go over here to the
oh
microphone?
boy, I don't know. I'm afraid for this one. I'm afraid for this one.
So Easton plays baseball.
Yeah.
One of the things I've thought about in the past is like, that must be, I mean, your dad played Major League Baseball. So what do you think has been the most helpful? And then what do you think hasn't been the most helpful? And this is a safe space, so feel free to share.
Well, probably all the tips he gives me when I'm like pitching or hitting, and
Okay.
it normally always fixes like my swing or like my mechanics and makes me like throw strikes or hit the ball at the middle every time. And probably one thing, probably the intensity.
So was that the positive, what you said? The tips was the
well,
good
the tips and
stuff?
stuff are definitely the positive, like how like he teaches and stuff. But then
Okay.
probably sometimes we get intense because background, major league and stuff. And
Yeah.
just like trying to make sure we're doing everything right. So
Right.
yeah.
Because sometimes I know as a parent, I'm like, were you really trying hard enough? Like, does your dad get that, like, question your hustle?
No, not really. I mean,
Oh, good.
Because I'm like always doing stuff. I practice every single day for like swim and baseball. Swim 5 days a week, baseball 2 days a week. So I'm always moving, always trying to give it my best, and I think he realizes that. So
Yeah. It's hard not to do your best.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, he does. He does a really good job. And look, if I overstep, he'll tell me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, how can I improve? And Janine's like, I'm like, I know. And look, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And I try to reel it back because I want him to love it because he loves it.
Right.
Whatever sport it may be, or
Right.
whatever direction he wants to go. But
Right.
I mean, I can't say enough at his work ethic, his dedication. He's intense, and I love seeing that. I
Right.
see that from
All your
how I
children.
was,
Yeah.
right? And not only Easton, but Sophia and Aaliyah. But I think that's some of the stuff that, you really love to see. And then sometimes you're like, okay, I can be a little bit more of an adult with it. And you're like, whoa, they are still teenagers. Like, let's pare it down.
Right.
Hey, I know I'm not perfect, and I try to back it off. And I'm, there's certain expectations, and then I'm like, being a little too harsh, or
Right.
Janine will say, look, you're being a little much.
Yeah. Well, so before you get back to your seat,
Yeah.
do you have any sport goals for yourself?
And probably just drop time in swimming and do well in that. And then probably, I do have some goals in baseball. Like I want to get a certain number of hits in a season or have like a certain ERA kind of.
No idea what that is, but I trust you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Good.
I got goals I want to hit.
I love it. I love that it's actually like based off of now. I was
Yeah.
thinking you were going to say like play,
Well, of course, that's the end goal, but
Oh, okay. Okay. But I like how you stay focused. Good. Okay.
The yearly goals versus career goals.
Yeah.
And, I think we're lucky because I know Aaliyah, she'll write it on her board. And I know Easton will write it on paper and put it on his mirror and look at stuff. And then a lot of times they'll keep it within themselves. But I just love the fact that they do have goals, and there's a goal orientated type of discipline. And I'm very proud of all of them because what they do it makes me happy. It makes Janine happy. Like, we love to see them excel. We know there's going to be the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs. And it's just, how do we help them out of some of the tougher spots and push them forward? And it's just like, hey, let's get rid of it. It's the bad. Hey, flush it. It's gone. It's out. Move on. And trying to teach them, move on. It's okay to make a mistake. But I find that kids in a lot of aspects are afraid to make mistakes. Well, if you don't make the mistakes, how are you going to learn?
Right.
and which,
Yes.
that's the thing that I love. Like, I'll watch Easton, and then all of a sudden he'll do something. I won't even know what he's downstairs doing, throwing wise or anything. And he's down there working on it. He knew what he did, I used to be, oh man, you did this. And that's not the proper time. I need to let him tell me, let me know when it is, or let Aaliyah tell me when, she has this, that, or the other. They're ready to talk about it, because when it's so fresh, they're already tough enough on themselves. And then
you see the parents right after games and stuff.
I mean, Easton, he can tell you there were times where I was talking to him right after the game. He's like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, okay, you know what? Sometimes you have to listen, sit back and listen. I don't have all the answers.
Right.
But knowing, he puts a lot of pressure on himself because he wants to do well. It's not anything else, but he's very successful. He's smart. He's athletic, all the kids. And I think that's the thing that I always want to push is like, look, no matter what, you give it your all. You work hard. You're focused. I'm going to love you no matter what. And I'm going to be proud because what they do is not easy.
So thank you, Easton. You can sit now.
Thanks
for your special appearance. So the psychological impact of injury. So what did injury? So I do remember Janine saying that you hurt your shoulder at some point. It was that like the major, or
it was my elbow.
Elbow, okay.
Yeah, it was
and
my
it was
elbow.
arm related.
Arm related.
Okay.
I had heard it in spring training, and I was pushing through. I was having an amazing spring training. Like, I was like dialed in. Everything was like, I think it was my second year, and I'm just like, okay, here we go. I'm ready to rock. First year was good. First full season, I should say. First half season when I got called up, we were battling the Braves in 2001, and then we ended up losing there. And then the next year, I went into camp. And it was tough because first full year, you're trying to do everything. Now the league's adjusting to you. Now I have to make the adjustment back. And there was an up and down, and just, as they call it, your sophomore slump, where like you're learning, and there's it's unrelenting when you get there, because everybody's like, no, I want to take this guy's job, or, I want to have success. I don't care about what they are. So, you're going through all of that. And you're learning to adapt, adjust, and what can I do to get better? And then that off season, I did a lot of things. I was ready, went into camp, everything was great, and then hurt my elbow. It was a flexor strain, which is a precursor to a Tommy John. But, and then I just worked through it. I never really fully recovered. So I had to change my whole game. Like, I had to adjust on the fly. I had to learn to pitch a little bit more. My stuff wasn't the same, as it was when I was first coming up. So, I think there was, you almost have to reinvent yourself.
Right.
And I think that's the maturation process also as a player, is you get by so far on your athletic talents or, the strengths. But then all of a sudden, when those start to diminish, what do you do in order to make that adjustment to stay at that high of a level?
So how were the coaches during your recovery? Were they pushing you to come back, or were they giving you time to come back?
Well, that was the time where you didn't want to be seen in the training room, and we were always pushing ourselves to come back, even if we weren't fully healthy. No, I got to get out there, because we were a team. Plus, you wanted to get out there, but not realizing you're doing yourself a disservice because you're not fully healthy. Now you're playing hurt, and next thing you know, you're hurt again and again, and everything kind of snowballs. And coaches always want you back. If not, they're like, next. But now you're at the peak level, and you want to stay there. And if you're not helping, you feel obligated, like, hey, I have to hurry up and get back out there.
Right.
So I think in a lot of respects, back when we were coming through, it was more old school approach versus the new school nuance, understanding bodies more and how much rest you need and stuff like that. So, my time was at a time where it was just before that transition into where people are like, okay, hey, we need you to take a break. It's fine. Nothing's wrong.
That was probably the time when all those pro football players were getting those concussions, and
Oh,
no
the
one
CTE,
really,
right?
and no one cared about it, and they continued to play, and now we've learned so much about
Yes.
the brain. So
I mean, you're taking anti-inflammatories just so that you can stay on the field.
Right.
Like, you do anything because you're that uber competitive
Right.
athlete trying to stay and make your living to take care of your family for, immediate family and
Right.
maybe your parents and whatnot. And, because there's a lot of money, and there's a lot more money in the game now than when I was playing. So that was good money then.
Right.
So you're like, wow, I just want to set myself up to where, when baseball's done, I don't have to stress as much.
this is starting to make more sense because our generation parenting is take the ibuprofen and get on stage,
Yep.
where I know like Maria's husband was like, no, don't give the ibuprofen because she needs to know when she's feeling the pain so she doesn't injure
Right.
herself. And so I think like that transition is hard because we think we're like tough love and you just do it, just get through the game. But so with children in recovery, what do you have to say for parents who worry that they might have to take a whole year out because of injury?
I say I teach kids lessons and whatnot for pitching. And if a kid's like, hey, I'm hurting or I'm sore, I kind of try to evaluate it just on my side of understanding where they're at. But if it's something like within the elbow or the shoulder, I shut it down. I say, we're stopping right now. Let's take some time off. If I feel that it's necessary, hey, let's go take a look. I'll make a call to one of the sports medicine doctors that I associate with, Dr. Sean McMillan. And I'll just say, look, I'm going to try to set you up here. Let's go look. I just want to rule anything out because I don't want them to make the same mistakes that I made. And that's what I'm hopefully pushing not only to them, but to my own kids. And, when doctors say, hey, look, I need you to take 6 to 8 weeks off, listen. Because if you have to miss, it's fine. They're young. Like they'll catch up. In a lot of respects, everybody feels like the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Oh, I can't, they can't do this because they're going to fall so far behind and it's like the end of the world. It's not. Kids adapt. They, as they mature, everybody's not on the same scale. You're going to have some kids that are, have more body awareness, bigger, stronger, faster at an earlier age. And they get by with everything, but they've never learned how to work.
Right.
Then you have the kids that are going to be later bloomers that have always had to work.
Right.
And maybe it's just not clicking. And then all of a sudden it clicks. And what happens? They surpass those kids that were advanced at the earlier age.
Yeah.
I think there was like a bunch of stuff out there in social media where, look, guys, everybody's different. The best at the 10, 11, and 12-year-old age, pretty much it flips. Like, it's good to be good, but, I was fortunate. It didn't flip on me, but I always had to work.
Yeah.
So those kids that have that early.
And that work helped you, it sounds like, because you had that mental fitness and the physical fitness and the training, the hard work ethic. When your elbow was injured, you had to apply all those skills then. If you didn't have the skills, you wouldn't have been able to learn how to reinvent yourself. That could have been the end of
Absolutely.
everything.
And I would say for the young kids and to the parents out there, listen to the doctors. They know what they're doing. They're saying it, like, especially in the baseball world. So many kids are playing year round. I don't believe in it.
Yeah.
That's just me. That's my own opinion. And a lot of people that I've grew up with and that same age bracket, they're like, you need breaks. And I think this is what hints at all the injuries at the young ages is the fact that they're playing basically like major leaguers in the baseball sense.
The number of hours. Yeah.
Year round, they're playing summer ball. They're playing in the fall and they don't take time off. They take a couple weeks off and then they're right back into the winter training. And it's like, guys,
yeah,
baseball is not the most athletic sport per se. It's such a skill. It's very nuanced. Whereas I think you let them play basketball, football, swim, any other things, it takes off
the mental pressure.
The mental pressure,
Yeah.
number one. Maybe they're the best in baseball, but now they're not the best in basketball or soccer or football. So they're learning both sides of it.
Right.
And so, but learning, hey, I have to work. But at the same time, I just think kids are overworked in one specific sport. Everybody's pushing their kids. Oh, I only want them to play baseball, or I only want them to swim. I only want them to play basketball. Oh, maybe they only dance. Like whatever it may be,
Right.
is have to listen to their bodies because they're growing, they're maturing. And in baseball, there's so many elbow injuries now that these kids are trying to throw as hard as they can. And the whole process is, I think, has been flipped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you're trying to teach kids about the game and not just trying to throw hard. Because it doesn't matter how hard you throw. If you can't throw a strike, it doesn't matter. And we're just seeing so many injuries, and I think it's overuse injuries. And I highly recommend play another sport.
Right.
It's not only is it good for your body, you're learning different things, different aspects, how your body moves, but the mental drain is just like gone.
Right. So one last question before we break. As a coach, do you ever gaslight the athlete when they say they're hurt? Because as a mom, we do that. Are you really hurt?
I think you're always going to question because you try to watch your child. What are they doing? Hey, you know, you can tell when they're not putting forth the effort. Is it kind of one of those mental days where they're just not into it? They just don't feel like being there. And sometimes it's like, then don't go.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to get yourself into a bad situation. Then you start doing things and your coaches know when you're not really into it.
Right.
Or you're not there for the typical reasons. And they'll say, yeah, all right, everything good. You know, but, you know, sometimes there's just a day where you just need a mental break.
Right.
You know, I think it's with anything like this. As adults, we're just like, I just can't deal with this. I just need to go, whether it's go for a walk and just say, I just need to get away.
That's true. I do need to think about it that way, that sometimes we just need to, and one day isn't going to lead to a whole season.
Yeah. And I think we want so much and so well for our kids. We're like, hey, you got to do this in order to do it. But sometimes, like you said, we all have to take a step back and say, you know what, maybe they're just having a day that I have and I just need a break.
Yeah.
I mean, they're younger. It's just, that's their way of saying it.
Right.
And it's just reading it and trying to do it. Like, you know, look, I know I can be tough at times. Like, no, come on, let's go. No, come on, let's go. Especially when they're younger.
Yeah.
I had to learn.
Yeah.
I was tough. I know I could be tough on Easton or my daughters and just like, oh, but that's where Janine came in and said, look, I think you're being a little tough.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much for part one. We're going to take a break. And when we come back for part two, we're going to talk about the debate of travel versus Little League and all that fun stuff. And we're going to have some question and answer from the audience.
Perfect.
All right. Before we go, Aurora Healing Crew, take a deep breath like you're soaking in sunlight. Warm, steady, grounding. As you move through your day, check in with your gut. Notice how you feel around others. Your energy is precious. Protect it so you have the strength and light to do what really matters to you. Because life is hard, and we're getting through it together. Thank you for listening to the Aurora Sessions Beyond the Couch. Visit our website at aurorasuncounseling.com to learn more. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Just search Aurora Sun Counseling. Got questions or topics you'd love to hear us cover? Email us at info@aurorasuncounseling.com or drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you.